Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of our Wednesday webinars by Network for Good. Thank you all for joining us today. We have over 250 participants with us today, so great to see you all. Today we're going to be starting something new, and it's something where Network for Good is going to do once a month, and that is showcase one of your peers. So an executive director, and today we have a discussion with Jeanna Finamore of Mentorprise. Jeanna is a friend of mine, and she lives here locally in the Washington, D.C. area. So everybody say hi to Jeanna in the chat box. And if you're new, by the way, to our webinars, I want to say welcome. If you're new, to say hi and what organization you're with or where you're calling in from, because I always like to see kind of where everyone's at or what kind of organization you're with. Everyone's saying hi, Jeanna. Feel free to say hello back.
Hello.
Okay, cool. We got people from all over the country, Texas, Delaware, New York. Great to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. If you're new to Network for Good, or if this is your first time on a webinar, I just want to talk a little bit about who we are and why we're here today. So every week we do these Wednesday webinars, same time, same place, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We also have a lot of resources on our site, free, so you can learn about fundraising in all aspects. But what we really do provide is a couple of things, mainly a really nice all-in-one donor management software and online fundraising software. So most of the time people call us and they say, oh, Vince, we've got spreadsheets and Constant Contact and Microsoft Word and Eventbrite, like a bunch of different things, and we just like an all-in-one system. So what Network for Good did was take a look at the market and say, okay, well, small to mid-sized nonprofits can use like a nice all-in-one system, so it's easy for you guys to track your donations, your donors, send emails, letters, even text donations, all those kinds of things, and have a bunch of online fundraising made easy through Facebook and your website. So if you're interested in learning more about that, we're happy to talk to you. Usually if you put your email in, we'll reach out to you either later today or tomorrow to show you a demonstration, kind of learn about your fundraising, how you do it, see if it's a good fit. Maybe there's a lot of time being wasted on your end that could be streamlined. So we definitely can help with anything that you need in terms of your fundraising software development, just making life a lot easier for you. So you're doing less admin work and more proactive work is what I like to say. So I'll leave this up for a second for those of you who do want to learn more and have a rep from Network for Good reach out and talk to you about what we have to offer and see if it's a good fit for you. We'll begin here in just a second. While I'm doing that, we're going to talk about our Facebook fundraising page. It's called NonProfits Unleashed. So let me leave this up for a second, and then we'll go over to it. I'll put a link in the description box or in the chat box. So if you want to click on that link and join our Facebook group, what it is a place for all nonprofit professionals to learn and engage from one another. So we have a lot of really good discussions on there. You can post anything you want if you have questions about an upcoming event, a campaign, if you want a second opinion about maybe a thank you note that you're doing, if you have questions about getting your board involved, join the Facebook group and you can ask questions and learn from your peers because, as much as we love doing these webinars, we can't do them all the time. So the Facebook group is a great alternative to connect with each other. And let me close this poll. I'll put this back up later, but so here it is, Nonprofits Unleashed. And I put the link in the chat box for those of you who want to join. Some housekeeping items for if you haven't used ReadyTalk before or haven't been on our webinars. So you can minimize or maximize the screen. When it comes to listening, the best thing I would say is use Chrome. Make sure your flash is updated, your computer volume is turned on, and use headphones to avoid any issues with the sound. Now, we're going to be doing kind of a Q&A session with Jeanna. So if you have questions throughout, ask those questions, and what I'll be doing as the moderator is flagging them, and we're going to do a big Q&A at the end. So ask questions whenever you like. I'm going to be flagging them, so don't worry about them not getting answered because they will. If you have any other questions, feel free to type to me, and I'll try to get it answered right away. All right, Jeanna, you ready?
I am.
All right, well, everyone, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jeanna Finamore, who is the Executive Director of Mentorprise. I'm not going to go into her background, but as you can see from her slide, she was previously with Discovery Channel, which is was headquartered here in the D.C. area. So, Jeanna, why don't you go into a little bit about your background, where you came from, and just tell everyone who you are.
Sure. So, well, thank you. First and foremost, thank you for having me here, Vince. It's a great opportunity, and I'm very thankful for your friendship and this, so thank you.
Yes.
So I am Jeanna Finamore. I'm the Executive Director of Mentorprise. I was at Discovery Channel for about 12 years, so a big chunk of my career was at Discovery Channel. I led teams there. I was in operations and finance and accounting. And basically my team would tell the company how much the shows cost when they aired. So we would roll that up for shareholders, and we would let them know the content value of Discovery and several other channels. Discovery owns like Science Channel and TLC and Animal Planet and several other channels. So that's what I did there. So I've had a slew of managerial experience.
Nice. I'm going to put a link to Mentorprise's website in the chat for everyone to see too. So if they want to take a look at it, it's kind of a long link. I don't know why it looks like that, but I put your link there for people who are wanting to take a look more at Mentorprise.
Great.
Going on, so you're at Discovery. Okay, so then what happens? How did you make the journey from the for-profit industry into nonprofit?
Sure. So about 2-3 years ago, Discovery had offered anyone that had been there 10 or more years a severance package. And if you were a director or above, they offered you a year of pay and a year of benefits and half of your bonus, because they were basically changing headquarters. Like they knew they needed to get out of the D.C. area. So I think they offered it to like 503 people, and only 180 signed. And I thankfully was one that signed. So I think I was there for like another month or two. It was June 2016. That was my last day. I think it was June 7th. I think I remember. And I traveled. I traveled for like 2 or 3 months. I had this year in front of me. It was fantastic. I went to like Portugal and Spain, and I went to Florida twice. My best friend was getting married, so sometimes life does, just offer these like great timing opportunities for you. So I helped her with her wedding, and I stood beside her when she got married. I went to Italy twice. I really took advantage of it. Then I renovated for about a month, and I realized like you really do need to just be at your place when things are getting renovated. So I knew why I didn't do it for 12 years. And then after a month of renovations, I was ready to give back. And it was right around like the presidential election, and people just weren't getting along at all, and I felt like the country was getting more polarized, and I'm still like hugely interested in politics, but I just wanted to get back locally, and so I went online, and there's a search engine called volunteermatch.org that aggregates ways to give back, whatever volunteer opportunity you happen to type in, and because I led teams at Discovery for so long, I knew I loved to develop people. So I typed in mentorship, I typed in the city where I live, I typed in Rockville, I typed in, I think, college-age student. And instead of a direct service mentoring program coming up, Mentorprise came up. And and I submitted an application from Volunteer Match. I submitted an application to Mentorprise, and Leslie, the president, emailed me that night, and we set up a call. and she told me about the Mentorprise model, which basically matches potential mentors with a mentoring opportunity that suits their location, their time schedule, and their interests. And so she matched me with a direct service provider. She matched me with a mentoring program called FutureLink. It was located near me. It matched my time schedule, and it was a fantastic program. And so I became so fascinated by the Mentorprise model because it's conducive and it's lean, and it just made a whole lot of sense to me that I offered my services to Leslie as well on the phone call. And so from there, I volunteered for a month, and then I joined the board for like 6 months. But there were these background conversations about once my severance ran out. And so once my severance ran out, you know, a year later, so it was June, the following June 2017, I stepped down from the board, and then I stepped onto the ED position.
Okay. Very nice.
And so that's how that worked out. And within that time frame, you know, we had to have a fundraiser. We really had to, like, come together as a nonprofit, and we were new. You know, we really had to trust ourselves that, okay, and I had to trust them that they would be able to have their first staffer be their executive director. Because I had, you know, a ton of experience behind me. And they didn't have much money, but we really all worked hard to get it done. And it's been life-changing. And it's been changed, you know, it's really changed the game for Mentorprise as well.
Speaking of which, do you want to tell us a little bit about Mentorprise as an organization so
Absolutely.
People have context of it?
Yeah, definitely. So what we do is we try to fill the mentorship gap in the greater Washington region. So 1 out of 3 young adults do not have a caring and committed adult in their lives. And there are a lot of things that a lot of people can do, but unfortunately they get in their own bubble, or they try to commit, and the program that they committed to is, you know, an hour away with traffic, because greater Washington region traffic is just a bear to deal with. So what we do is there's so many great programs, nonprofit programs in the greater Washington region. So what we do is we partner with nonprofit programs that have mentoring components in them, and we recruit mentors on their behalf, meaning we go out into the community and like once a week, and we talk about the power of mentorship. And passerbys at farmers markets or employees at companies or community members at volunteer fairs will fill out applications. We take those applications back to our office, and people find us online as well, like I found out about Mentorprise online. And we reach back out to those people who filled out those applications. And again, based on where they live, how many hours they can give, and what their interests are, we let them know 2 or 3 great programs out of these 26 partner programs. And then we'll talk through those 2 or 3, and they'll choose one. So the partners, they all serve disadvantaged populations, but in different ways. So one may serve foster kids, and one may serve teen parents, and one may serve first-generation college students, and 4 actually serve adults. So it just depends on what somebody wants and where they're located and what works for them. So after they choose their program, we email the program director. And so, Vince, if you were to apply, we would copy you in. We would copy and paste your application into the email where we are referring you to as an applicant to the partner program. And then that partner program would reach out to you about the upcoming orientation. They would tell you, you know, how to get your criminal background check done. They would ask for references. So they all adhere to best mentoring practices. everybody's saying yes. So with that, we have, in just a few years, we have facilitated the connection of, thank you for all your help and all your feedback, by the way. Thank you. We have facilitated the connection of 175 mentor-mentee relationships. And these mentors are now contributing 400 monthly service hours back into our communities, which is awesome. Like, I'm from the D.C. area. Hi.
Sorry about that. The phone hung up on me for some weird reason. I really apologize.
That's okay. I was just continuing because they were saying like that they could still hear me. So,
I texted you that it hung up on me.
I know. Yeah, I was like, And so I was telling them that we facilitate the connection of 175 mentor with mentees, and these mentors are giving back 400 monthly service hours back into our local communities. And several of these mentors are now on their second or third year of mentorship. And it's like all inspiring for me. It's such a passion of mine because I'm from this area. And Vince knows, like, I love this area. There's nothing better than the changing of seasons for me. There's nothing better than, like, the history that's made inside the walls of Congress. I love our National Mall. But I know that there's still work to be done in this region to make it even better. And I know that we can talk to each other and we can ignore some things that we may not agree on, like politics or other things. We can still get along. We can still break through.
So going back to that, so what made you choose going to Mentorprise? I know you kind of went over this when you were first joining, but was there something in particular about the organization, the model that helped you kind of made the push as opposed to joining, what was the name of the organization that you were matched with again?
FutureLink.
FutureLink. So as opposed to joining FutureLink, you joined Mentorprise on the board and volunteered. So what kind of drew you to that?
That's an excellent question. Nobody's ever asked me that. That's very poignant. Very deep. It's because of their model. Because the model makes so much sense to me, and I'm all about, like, efficiency. And it doesn't take that we are definitely in need for money. I'm not saying we're not, but it doesn't take that much money to create solutions for literally these 26 different partner programs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, sometimes it's a rub because, I'll talk to funders, or this segue in a little, I'll talk to funders or I'll talk to community members, and some people want a direct service. They want to support a direct service because they feel like that's the critical need, that if you don't give $5,000 to a nonprofit that helps homeless children, then they're going to stay on the street. But my idea is, but we're helping 26 nonprofits, right? So It's kind of like reframing that and getting that message out. But I think it really does take, sometimes it really does take that person. It really does take and you're into it too, Vince, like it takes I can educate people and I can teach them, but sometimes people just aren't into mentorship, and that's okay. And some people aren't into Mentorprise, and that's okay. But if you can kind of reframe it and think, oh, okay, like it's not that they're going to help just this one program stay off the streets, the constituents that they serve stay off the streets, but they're helping 4 other programs that are serving adults, and they're helping kids learn how to read, and they're helping teen parents obtain college degrees. That's why it was a conducive solution that made mentoring efficient and easy and smart, but it was also this gift. It's a gift. Mentorprise is a gift to the whole, like, greater Washington region instead of just like a specialized area.
Yeah. So kind of getting into the meat of things. So I think most people on here are involved in a nonprofit in some way, whether they're board, they're executive director, development director. You kind of wear all the hats. And by the way, everyone, the kind of overarching theme of this particular webinar is doing more with less. So when that happens is, you have one, maybe two staff members, and the executive director is held wearing, kind of doing everything every day, all day. So what does a typical week look like for you? And audience, if you don't mind chiming into, like, if you agree and if you have questions or what your work week looks like, we always like to see kind of the gamut of how things are run at different nonprofits. But Jeanna, for you, like, what does a typical week look like?
Sure. So I would guess I'm in the office a few days and out in the community a couple of days. So there's, the admin work of an office. There's the grant work of running a nonprofit. But our bread and butter is going out into the community and, preaching the gospel of mentorship and trying to get people to sign up. So this year, just in 2019, for example, we've been to Facebook in D.C. We set up a lunch and learn there. We went to Yelp in D.C. We set up a lunch and learn there. We did an IBM webinar. We did Deloitte. We went to Deloitte in Arlington. So we not only try to stay in D.C., we have, events in Virginia. We have events in Maryland. We did a Facebook Live webinar, so we had to prep for that. There's a ton of meetings, not a ton, but I'll have meetings with the board members for marketing reasons, for fundraising. I'll do on-site visits with these 26 partners, and that, that whole part of the conversation, that was more getting out into the community. But in the office, I do oversee 2 AmeriCorps Vistas. I oversee 3 interns. So they change out every 10 weeks, and I'll have new interns coming in. So it's onboarding them. When we have a new board member join, there's an onboarding process for that. So it is different day by day, and it's managing a lot, but it's kind of just having it's all about planning. It's all about never losing focus. I would say, like, those are the 2 things. Like, you have to be motivated by the mission, and you have to be a planner. So you just have to stay on top of it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, who's planning your week? And I guess this segments into our next question. How do you keep motivated, keep going?
I keep motivated because mentorship speaks to me, right? Like, the mentorship experience it's so unique and it's so priceless. Like, it's not like any other type of volunteerism. And volunteering is great. Like, I volunteer in other ways, and I donate and I contribute my time, but you're really building a relationship, and it's priceless. You can't buy the feeling when a mentee calls, and this happened to me, when a mentee calls and lets you know that she got into a college. And my mentee got into the University of Maryland. So, I mean, it was amazing. And you can't buy the feeling when I had another mentee. I've had 2. When you meet your mentee and you think that there's no reason she needs a mentor, which I thought because she was so buttoned up, and then the next meeting she breaks down and you get through her walls and you realize why she needs a mentor, because she shares her personal story with you. And so there's no way you can buy that. It's priceless. Like, when you're changing someone's lives and you realize, like, they're changing your life. I'm so honored. Like, I feel so honored to do this and to be able to do it in the area where I grew up.
everyone on the audience, that's take a pause. I think you should all, if you haven't already, become a mentor to someone, if you have the time, of course, if that speaks to you. Oh, wait, what? I missed one. Okay. Every nonprofit has challenges. What are some of the ones that you face? Not just day to day, but overall, some of the things that you'd like to see go away, maybe.
Right. I mean, our biggest challenge, and I'm sure many nonprofits say this, is the funding. And I had come out of an interview. It must have been about a year ago, and thankfully, the county that I was interviewing with, Montgomery, they do like what we're doing. They do support us. But they had mentioned this thing I mentioned, that if they have 10 nonprofits in front of my nonprofit and they're all asking for money, and if they don't support them with the funds, then, the kids may end up on the streets or they may stay on the streets. And that we have to continue to show our need, why we are needed, and our impact. It's hard sometimes to be able to offer that script to these foundations or government representatives if they feel like an indirect service is. And I thought of us in the same way that preventative medicine is thought about, meaning a lot of people think that you don't need to pay for preventative medicine. But everyone knows that if you do, it helps exponentially, like in so many different ways, in a variety of ways downstream. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of funding. And that is the biggest rub with Mentorprise and indirect service providers in the nonprofit arena.
Well, and to that point, your Mentorprise is proactive. It's a proactive organization instead of reactive.
Right.
Because you're helping to prevent problems that could happen later in life, as
exactly
opposed to getting them solved now.
Yep, and partner programs that are direct service providers, they can then focus on their programs more and their mentees more. They all report that recruitment is their biggest issue, and some of them actually say even more than funding, which is incredible, because funding is always an issue, and that's what I'm talking about is funding. But some of them say recruitment is harder, that it's a bigger challenge.
Yeah. Well, and the board is very involved, so you want to talk about, hint to everyone on the audience, there's 2 boards, but we'll talk about the senior board first. How do you keep them involved? Because that is a big, big problem with a lot of nonprofits that I speak to, is they can't seem to get their board involved with fundraising or just engaged in some way. So what are some of the things that you do to keep everyone involved?
So we had a board retreat. We have a board retreat every, January or February. And we all can come together and, talk about our strengths, our weaknesses. This is an exercise that I really thought helped me as an executive director and helped Mentorprise. I had them just fill out, a sheet of paper. It probably had like 4 or 5 questions in it and it was self-reflection. Like, what do you think you're bringing to Mentorprise? And how do you think Mentorprise is doing since inception of 2015? And how do you think your contribution to Mentorprise has changed, and if so, how? And now that they're trying to change from a working board to an executive board, are you comfortable with making the ask? And if not, are you comfortable in helping us find in-kind donors? And so that was And then my final question was, can you let me know one or two times this year where I can meet you for coffee? Right? So it's kind of like, and I love those type of activities. You know, I watch these like public speaking TED Talks, and just I'm interested in that type of arena. And there's something to be said about almost, I don't want to say forcing, but that's like forcing people to come out of their own heads and write down what's in it. I mean, there was a book I read, and it said 95% of the time people are thinking about themselves, right? So I can say like the Mentorprise mission, and they're all into it. I mean, they you know, that's why they support us. That's why they give their time. That's why they introduce me to their contacts. But, you know, everybody has automatic thoughts. So by almost, you know, forcing someone to write down what's going on in their head, it connects them, and it connects me to them. And therefore, it just breeds this idea of more engagement.
Great. And how do you keep your board active, engaged, in particular to fundraising?
Sure. So they have been transitioning from this working board to an executive board. And what that means, if no one knows, is that they actually are stepping towards fundraising more. So right now, there's 3 committees, and one's marketing and one's partners, where board members check on partners, and then one's development. But in the past year or so, some have stepped down from marketing and partners and stepped onto development. And that is, I don't want to say normal, but that does happen in several boards where they start to move over more to fundraising. And so marketing and partners has, like, I'll oversee it. We'll talk about the junior board. The junior board will help. My team members will help. There's still a couple board members that definitely help with marketing and with partners. But to keep them engaged with fundraising, at this board retreat I just spoke about, Vince actually had a great presentation for about an hour about how to fundraise without actually fundraising, meaning finding in-kind donors or helping with grant work or going to a recruitment event and building our brand. Because at the end of the day, by extension, it's fundraising. Like, for example, this is like getting into the nitty-gritty, but I had a board member send me a newsletter from Montgomery County, and I found out about a grant that way through this newsletter. But the newsletter contained like 30 different resources, but I happened to tap into this grant opportunity, and we won $10,000 because of that grant. You know, she raised funds. Yeah, she raised funds that way. So it does take a board. It does take a collection of hands and hearts and minds to get there. And it does not have to be, you know, going to MasterCard and saying, oh, will you cut a check for $5,000? There's an exponential way to still fundraise, and that it's definitely air quotes, to bring money or contributions or support in the door to keep your nonprofit going and to keep your board active and engaged.
Okay, so big reveal, everyone. I know Jeanna in more ways than one. I'm on her junior board, the Mentorprise junior board. So, and Jeanna, I can talk about what it's like to be on our junior board, but do you want to talk about what it's like to have formed one, or what made you guys, the senior board, decide to form a junior board?
Yes. So I think I was here for about a year or so, and the board started talking about their hope to transition from a working board to an executive board. And so I was nervous. Like I don't get a lot of anxiety, but I felt like I wasn't equipped to manage the mission without board members, because we go out into the community, right? And so I needed more hands. I just needed more people to do that, and more supporters, and more people who understood our mission and were involved in our mission and really held on to it. And so Leslie thought of this fantastic idea, our president. Leslie's our president and co-founder. And she thought of the idea of launching a junior board right around that same time, thank goodness. And so when we have applicants, when we have applicants, or when I go out into the community, when we have mentor applications come in, or when I go out into the community, I talk to people, whether on the phone because I'm placing someone, or I'm at events at a partner's event. If I think that they're suited and it makes sense, I will talk to them about the junior board. And from there, that was probably an evolution of about a year. It takes a while. But now we have, is it 8 or 9 board members?
8.
We have 8 junior board members, and they're fantastic. I mean, we have 2 fantastic marketing experts. One is more like social media platform. One is outreach. We have Vince, who is incredible. He's our co-chair. Our other co-chair works for IBM. We just recruited a new member, Danny. He stopped by our office yesterday. He seems incredible. He's into politics and fundraising. So it's been fantastic. And the coolest thing is that each junior board member actually has a senior board member that mentors them. So mentorship is actually like inside the walls of Mentorprise, like a living and breathing thing inside the walls of Mentorprise. But it literally has been my saving grace, because and Vince knows, like, all I do is work. I want to work. I like to work. I purpose that way. But I didn't know if I would be successful without a community of helpers and supporters. And this really has, you asked the question about motivating. Like, no joke, Vince, like the junior board motivates me just, I don't want to say as much as a mission, but, it almost is like a ripple effect. It's almost like this continuum of, I talk to the junior board, and then they report back to me, or I have ideas, and then they have ideas, and it's been fantastic. It's been the perfect fit.
Actually, Gretchen is asking a good question that I'm happy to answer if you want, but she says, what does the junior board do that is distinct from the senior board? And there's quite a bit. I mean, we definitely work collaboratively, but we are also kind of like our own, I like to call it our own little company. So one thing, for example, that we are putting on is a bartender battle in July to raise funds for the organization. So like sell tickets, have a host committee, get sponsorships, and we kind of try to target, I guess, a younger audience, like young professional audience, to get those people to become donors and or mentors. So kind of having a dual effect of recruiting mentors and finding new donors, but just to the younger audience. So the senior board, they, I guess, fundraise and do things a little bit differently, and they have more of a, I don't want to say older outreach, but the junior board is definitely more focused on getting millennials like our friends more involved. And you can add to that, Jeanna. I mean, would you say that's about accurate?
Yep, and it also goes back to this idea that the board wanted to transition to the executive board, and the executive board is, you mentioned, we definitely rely on the junior board for fundraising efforts, but the senior executive board is more of a majority of fundraisers.
Mm-hmm.
Where the junior board is more now my working board.
Yeah, I would say so. And speaking on that, like, your biggest source of donations, where does that come from? Or we should say funding. I don't want to say donations, because obviously donations come from individuals, but where does your biggest source of funding come from?
The fundraisers. So we're looking forward to the fundraiser by the junior board. It will be the inaugural one, but the fundraiser that we throw, we've thrown two, our gala in November. It'll be our third year this November. It's called Banding Together, and with like grit and hard work and just an eye on the prize, we raise over $100,000 and we only spend $10,000. So we do incredible work. It's called, we call it Banding Together with Mentor Prize. We have a couple bands play. It's a play on words because we are trying to band all of these different nonprofits together. We have an auction there. We have mentees sing, so it really touches on, you know, our program and what we're trying to do. We have a raffle, and so it's just a fun night. People can get dressed up if they want. They don't have to. We want everybody to feel comfortable. And so it raises a lot of money. This year we may take it like a little bit smaller, but we still always want to knock it out of the park because we have to, because we face these, you know, smaller challenges sometimes with the foundations, but we're new too, so I always have to keep that in mind. Like sometimes with the foundations you have to knock 2 or 3 times for them to really hear you, and so we continue to do that.
Nice.
Do you want me to answer some of these questions, Vince, or do you want to wait for the Q&A portion?
We can. I'm flagging as many as I can.
Okay.
We have about 17 questions so far. So, and like the rest of the questions would be like, you know, there's 2 more questions, which is what keeps you up at night and what has made your life easier. So we'll start with what worries you?
Sure. So I think I don't have like much anxiety unless things like really, really pile up, but that's why I try to plan out a lot. And I am a proponent of self-care. You know, so I don't think I like stay up at night, but I do think about the funding. I do worry about that. Our model, it definitely works. I'm in love with it, but we do need funding to keep going. So I think about different ways to talk to foundations. And I think about strategy all the time. So not only foundations, but corporate sponsors. A lot of corporations, they want to know how much their employees are engaged before contributing, before supporting you. So, you know, I'm happy to set up a lunch and learn at companies, and that's what we do. So that's what I want to do anyways. So it's things like that. It's trying to figure out the different ways we can become known throughout the Greater Washington region so that we can be supported to continue to help and create this wider net of mentorship. Because I just want to have like neighbors talk to each other, and with mentorship you can do that. And I feel like when neighbors start to talk to each other, they will feel more connected and they'll feel more involved and they'll feel that they can reach their potential. And you know, in many ways they'll feel more safe because they will just feel more connected to each other. And when you know each other, you're going to feel at home.
Yep, exactly. Okay, last one. What makes life easier for you? What's one thing that's made life easier?
Okay, so my team, and when I talked about planning, I mean planning helps a lot, and I'm able to plan with our donor management system. So not only does it help me like with making the ask and tracking when I made the ask, it's almost like Excel on steroids. And when I make the ask, I'll put it in my little donor, it's called a CRN too, my customer relationship management system. I'll track when I made the ask, and then I'll make a little calendarized note to go back and maybe make the ask again or what my act of stewardship would be, and then that comes through in my email. So that really, 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 really sets me straight, and because there's so many balls to juggle as an ED, and you don't have to worry about that. And I'm orderly. Like, I feel like I'm orderly. I can manage, but it's just way too much to manage. And then that way you don't even have to think about it. And so you can track your donors. You can track your biggest donors. You can track your smaller donors. You can track the people that aren't donating, that are not donating, and then, you can sort of think like, okay, maybe mentorship isn't for that person, and that's okay. And when I'm continuing to make the ask to, the corporation, I can make this note that says like, oh, you emailed Allison in January, try again in April, right? So that you're not knocking all the time where you're annoying. And if I had to remember something 3 months later, I would not remember it. Like there's no way. So it's almost like Mentorprise. It's this conducive solution that is presented to you that if you take it, and use it to the best of your ability, like the sky's the limit.
Yep, I totally agree. I love our donor management system, and that's why everyone should look at Network for Goods. We'll talk about that later. Okay, we're going to go into Q&A. So, Jeanna, if you want to click on the questions tab under participant feedback, I'll continue to flag questions. We have a lot of really good ones.
Okay.
And I put up a link. If everyone can do us all a favor, I put a link to Jeanna's and Mentorprise's Facebook page. So go ahead and like that so that you can get in touch with Jeanna, learn more about Mentorprise in case there's more that you want to ask. But we'll try to go through as many questions as you can. Every audience, you can continue to ask me questions, and I'll be flagging them for Jeanna to answer. And for those of you who still want to know more about Network for Goods donor management software, so a system to keep you all organized, keep track of your donors, updates, emails, all that good stuff, thank you notes, campaigns, etc. Put your email in, and we'll go through Q&A now.
Okay. So there's a question, in recruiting mentors, what did you find most successful at the beginning stages? What is the way mentors first started getting interested? So we go out into the community. We are on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and please follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. But the way that I think that most become interested is because of our community work. We are out in the community like once a week. Last year we did 45 events. So we go to places of worship, we go to farmers markets, we do these lunch and learns, and it's I feel like face-to-face is where it's at. And then a lot of people do find us online as well, and they usually have mentorship sheets to them already. So that is the majority of the way that I think people find out about us. And then there's referrals as well. I think we have a great website. We'll be updating it soon. But our website, when I saw it, I was like, oh, my gosh, I definitely want to be involved with this group. I've had a couple volunteers, fantastic volunteers, find out about us through our website. So I would welcome you to take a look at our website. Next question, how do you handle your donor management system? Is it you or intern or staff? So when I mentioned that I want to calendarize like my acts of stewardship or how to make the ask, I have my interns do that. My reporting, I run. So I'm super into trends. I'm super into what works and what doesn't work because I come from a finance background. I come from numbers. I want to understand what, what's one example? What type of venues are working? So do I go to lunch and learns more, or are we getting bigger numbers there, or do I go to farmer markets more? And those are the type of, and out of those applicants, who's donating? So those are the type of reports that I'll run, and I'll start to analyze, and I'll look into deeper so that I know from an overarching standpoint what works. Next question. In doing more with less, how did you do recruitment with less? I don't know if you can do recruitment with less. I think that was, this rub that I was talking about with needing more hands to still get out into the community. I do work a ton. I don't mind it at all. I do like what I do, but you do need people. You do need a team. And thankfully, mentorship does speak to a lot of people, and the Mentorprise model speaks to a lot of people. And the coolest thing about this day and age is you can find your tribe. You can go on social media, you can advertise your services, and you can find people who are like you. And then they usually you migrate towards the people you're like. So when I meet events, Vince can bring an Olivia in, and then Olivia can bring somebody else in, because you're going to be around the people that are usually have the same interests as you. I'm planning on paying $200 a month for a coach at NFG. Why would I also want a mentor? I don't want conflicting advice. Do you partner with NFG? So we don't. It's not like a professional mentor. What we do is we mentor disadvantaged individuals. So Network for Good offers professional coaching services. This is different, where we are helping those in need get the support system that they deserve. So there's many disadvantaged individuals out there, and they all deserve a chance or a second chance. And so, like I said, like a partner could serve foster kids, or they could serve somebody reemerging into life after being incarcerated, or a partner could serve a woman who's trying to leave a hostile situation. So those are 3 of our partners, but we have 26 of them. So that's how it's different. Terry asks, do you invite feedback from mentees in the form of survey? We don't do that yet. We don't know the mentees as much as we know the mentors. So after we refer someone to a partner program, they are matched with a mentee. We will soon launch mentor-mentee activities, where all of the applicants that we refer that become mentors and are matched to mentees, we will soon launch mentor-mentee activities like a top golf round, or a painting class, or like a magician show, where mentors and mentee groups from around the greater Washington region can come to an activity, and then we'll start to know the mentees as well. CMAC, how do you raise money for your organization? By the fundraiser, mainly, and grants, and again, just preaching the word of mentorship and finding those who are committed to our mission. Next question. I fully agree with the power of mentoring. Our whole mission is to train and mentor. Next question. She runs a small organization. How does she practice the balance of saying no when you are a one-man show? I would say that this is an issue of mine. I can delegate. I mean, again, thankfully I have a lot of hands. I'm equipped with, I would say, an army of board members and junior board members and AmeriCorps Vestas and interns and volunteers, but I find those people. I do a lot of work the president does a ton of work to find board members, but everyone else, I'm working behind the scenes to find them, because I know the ROI. I know the return of investment, not only for me being able to delegate work, but this ripple effect of new ideas, and it also helps create a wider net of mentorship. So I don't necessarily say no, but I don't know if I balance that well. But I think because mentorship speaks so loudly to me, I just continue to say yes. I definitely prioritize things differently, but the way I say no is by giving the project to someone else, I would say, and just not doing, being able to delegate it to someone else. I'm not a one-man show. How long do the mentoring relationships typically last? Very good question. The mentoring relationships last for about a year. Each program runs differently, though, but some of them start with the school year, so that's about 9 months, depending on the program. One mentoring program actually runs 2 years, and 2 of them run for 6 months. So again, on the application, when we find community members who want to be involved in mentoring, we would know how long you want to serve. And then that's just the basically requirement of the partner program. They ask, oh, can you commit for 9 months or can you commit for a year? But a lot of them, you can continue that relationship. So I had mentioned in the beginning, some of these mentors are continuing like a second or third year, and some of them switch out. So after their year with one program, they may want to help a child learn how to read for the second year. And so we're able to facilitate that as well. For a small nonprofit, what basic material would you recommend for board training? So we have an expectations form, which is a one-pager. We have a bylaws. We have a whistleblower document. So I would basically present all that information up front so that the potential board member knows what they're getting into. How do you structure your development committee? Size and main focus. The development committee, there's 13 board members. I would guess that maybe 8 of them, at least half of them, sit on the development committee because they are transitioning from this working board to an executive board. The main focus is raising funds, of course, but what I mean by that is talking about upcoming events. So our fundraiser, they stay in touch with Vince. He's fantastic on the development board for the junior board, and he calls into the committee meetings, which is the next question, but I'll get into that in a second. So they talk about fundraisers. There's grant work that is discussed. There is assessments done on our previous donors and the active stewardship for those donors and how to cultivate new donors. So it's very holistic in the approach of what we talk about. And it has to be. Like, you can't just talk about one thing for development. You know, you want to tap into grant work. You want to tap into your fundraiser. You want to tap into potential corporate sponsorship. You want to tap into individual donors. Terry asks, do junior and senior board of directors meet jointly? How frequently? So now our senior board is at a place where they do committee calls quarterly. They still meet as a board. So there's 3 committees. Again, when the senior board meets, the junior board does not meet with them. When the senior board meets as committees, though, the junior board is invited to those meetings. They are called, and they can participate if they want to. It's an option, and they do. It's beneficial for everyone. Bobby asked, I would like to see the operating documents that lay out the structure. Is it possible to see? I don't know if that's possible. Shelley, do you do training or other personal development for your mentors prior or in addition to the partner programs training they get? Great question, Shelley. So actually we do. We are offering mentoring skills workshops in the past year or so. Again, we launched 3 or 4 years ago. In the past year, we were able to offer new opportunities outside of just mentor recruitment, including mentoring skills workshops. So we have one tomorrow, actually. And the idea is to continue to inspire these mentors that have committed so that they can, just like I talked to Vince and Vince talked to Olivia about mentorprise, about mentorship, those mentors can talk to their friends about mentorship and just, again, create this wider net of community mentorship.
Hey,
Tomorrow's,
Jeanna,
yep.
we're sorry, we're a little bit past time. You can answer one more question, but then I got to let everyone go back to work, unfortunately.
Oh, no, sure. I was just going to say tomorrow's event is based on project-based mentoring. So a woman named Patty Albert wrote a book called Teach to Work, and it's about project-based mentoring. So she's wonderful. She's highly respected in the Greater Washington region and nationally. So she will speak on project-based mentoring and the nuts and bolts behind that formula.
Excellent. Well, everyone, thank you so much. Everybody say thank you to Jeanna in the chat box. It's really great that you took time out of your day to do this for us. And everyone who is on, thank you for taking time out of your day as well to learn more from Jeanna. And we're always taking feedback. And if you want to be one of the executive directors or development directors on these monthly series, email us back, and we will definitely be in touch to learn more about you. If you're interested in getting a Network for Good product demonstration, definitely put your information in. We'll reach out to you afterward. We had a few people, Jeanna, who were interested in learning more about Mentorprise as getting involved, so I'll send you those contacts. But other than that, everybody, again, Jeanna, thank you so much. It was really great having you on. And everyone, we will. Yeah, of course, anytime. We will see everyone back here next week, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, as we do every week. We'll have our what is it? Oh my God, it's slipping my mind. Conference, our quarterly conference coming up soon. So definitely pay attention to that. We have some pretty good guest speakers that we'll be announcing soon. So everyone look out for that email, and we'll see you back here next time. Thanks, Jeanna.
Thank you, Vince.
Bye-bye.